Should we grade it or should we keep it raw? No, I'm just kidding. I don't do edits. You know that. So this is the part 2. I went ahead, just to save some time, and wrote these things down. Lesson learned, guys. I might just go ahead for part 3 and 4, since I'm doing these in sets of 5. I might go ahead and print off a pre-made sheet with the black lines, clean cut, stuff already tiled up, and red ink to provide contrast. Way easier than this. But let's go ahead and get into it. So again, reiterating from part 1, these are cards that I intend to send to the CGC, but we're guessing them as PSAs in terms of what we would think of PSA as, which, if you've seen from my previous videos, we're pretty accurate here. There's some reasons why we're doing that, to build data set, but also to kind of confirm in its own way, is CGC easier than PSA? And ultimately, I don't know if that's the right saying, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So up first, card I'd never even seen before. I got this at a card show. I actually think this was a freebie for one of the big deals that I did with somebody. Now, these cards for me are always kind of notoriously hard to grade for 2 reasons. One, centering can be a little bit harder because the borders kind of disappear. Like, we can see a distinction with this light, but it does make it observably harder to compare left to right. We kind of have to go off what we see. That's, and they look pretty even all around. Now, obviously, top is very hard compared to bottom because there's just no gold up at top. And then the texture of this card is extremely strange. There's some texture on the Pokemon, and then there's kind of less texture on the side. This makes surface grading to me very difficult. I've always had a hard time kind of understanding and judging the surface of these types of cards. But looks to be a very clean card. And then let's check the back. And back also looks pretty superb. I would 100% put this as a PSA 10, and I'm really hoping, especially because it would look so great with that card being black and gold, I really hope that this card gets a CGC Black Label. I'm just going to go ahead and call it that. I know Black Label is supposed to be a term reserved for BGS, but the CGC basically has their own version of Black Label. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put PSA 10. Well, I don't even have to put that. Just we're grading on the PSA scale. And I'm going to put BL for CGC Black Label. So yeah, and that's what we're shooting for, to be honest. It'd be awesome if a majority of these CGC Black labeled, but, I don't know. I don't recall if I've ever seen a CGC Black Label in person. Now, you can get some pretty good zoom-ins on eBay listings, and to be honest, I do think, especially that one, should CGC Black Label. Next up is a triple acceleration energy. I do believe this was also a self-pull. Centering left to right is slightly off. Top to bottom is pretty good to go. This card has texturing across the whole thing. I don't see anything wrong with this texturing. I have in the past, now of course though from some prior videos now already, I'm starting to question the ethics of PSA, but I have had some cards to where apparently they had surface damage and it was these types of cards. Now, I always hate when this happens. Centering on the front wasn't that bad. Centering on the left is a bit more, centering on the back is a bit more off. It's a bit thicker on this side than it is this side. Top to bottom is very close, but not perfect. This could still PSA 10, but just for the sake of the centering argument and just how rough I know PSA can be about centering, which is kind of funny because way back in the day, back before 2020, or even around 2020, PSA really didn't care that much about centering. They were more so concerned about actual damage to the card. So we'll say 9 to 10. Because Oh shoot, I did not leave myself room down here for these trades. Because centering isn't really damage to cards, that's just how they came from the manufacturer. They recognize centering and the importance of it, like especially if it was way off center, but this slightly off centering thing has kind of gotten out of control. Now this card is, you know, nostalgia bomb for some of us. I think, at least from the front so far, this card would again PSA 10. I see no bins. We're pointing that out now. No bins, at least in the front so far. Now we'll check the back for whitening. Whitening is always more apparent on the back because it's blue and white. Centering on the back is slightly off. Centering on the front's pretty good. Again, look, there's no bends. This, what? Yep, that's not a bend. That was just a weird way the light hit it. This should PSA 10. Ultimately, hopefully, CGC Black Label. And for the 4 viewers that we have, I'm being honest with you guys, for the 4 viewers that we have, I really hope you're taking advantage of the data and knowledge that I'm dropping. Because I think that card is a PSA 10. Current market is $700. But picking that card up raw might be $5 to $10. No joke. Maybe even less. Sorry, bourbon breaks in between. But that's kind of my point. There's treasures out there that people just aren't hunting. There's so, even still to today, now it's gotten a little bit better, which makes it harder for you guys who watch this. But even still to today, there are so many people stuck on Charizards, Holos, Gengar, Gyarados, Raichu, Dragonite. And then the rest, they all, yeah, you've got your legendaries, but they're all kind of so spread out, they're not technically singular. And those oddball cards outside, and obviously getting a 10, finding 10s is not willy-nilly easy, especially in something as vintage as Neo Genesis Japanese Pikachu. But arguably still not impossible. And I'm just saying, man, you can still go find those treasures. And I've been so busy with my new job, there's just no way. But, and look, I'm making up excuses, but I've got a new house, I've got 2 kids, I've got a family, and I got a new job. I'm pretty busy, pretty high up. I probably could still force myself to find some. And I look at Facebook Marketplace every now and then. But if you're not actively out there, and to include card shows, like I said, that Clay Rex VMAX, that ice ride, I got that at a card show as a freebie from someone that I did a deal with. It was just an addition to the deal, like as a, hey, thanks for doing such a good deal with me sort of throw in. You probably could have picked that card up at that card show. This was just a year ago. You probably should have picked that card up for like $1. And there was a few near pristine cards I picked up at the same card show for $1.50 a piece. This next card I may not send to CGC, and I'm heavily debating it on sending it to PSA or maybe even tag. I might send it to tag. And that's just to avoid sending something to PSA. So up next was a card that I got, I believe it was a mystery pack. It was a thing I did a long time ago, 3-4 years ago. I did things to Motomon, or Dave Lee, his real name. I don't know if it was a direct buddy or just someone who was contacting him. We were doing things about mystery packs back in the day. And I do and don't like doing mystery packs, and there's a couple reasons why. Mystery packs tend to almost always 100% be a scam. I like doing them, of course, because they're content and they add to the creation and they add to the data point. Um, Now, if you don't already notice what's really cool about this card, it's not that it's a dark Charmander, and which was definitely a much different art style back in the day. In fact, I haven't seen anyone in Pokemon do this art style yet again since, to be honest. But what is very special about this card, it is a black dot air Charmander. See, there's the black dot right above the D, and as you can see, the light blocks the dot out just the way it blocks the rest of the text, so therefore it was during manufacturing. That is my test of that. Now we can see that there is some scratches, some light scratches on the front, but centering looks pretty good. Corners are a little itty bitty weird, and then on the back we've got some slight uplift, some slight nicks, and some more slight uplift, and some whitening. Now, here are some reasons why I probably won't send it to CGC. And this is just being honest about it. And the reason why I was considering it is it's an error card, but PSA does have a label for this error card. But you know, they stole my Black Dot Charizard, so why wouldn't they steal my Black Dot Charmander? So, you know, more so reason why I'll probably go with Tag. I have to see if Tag even has the error label for this. If they don't, then I'm kind of forced to go with CGC, and I'm not certain how I feel about that, because here's my reason to not do CGC for this card. If I had to give this a PSA grade, it would be between 7 and 8, and with some of the other cards I got back on them, possibly even 6. Now, why would I not want to send it to CGC? Because if you don't get a CGC 10, you can pretty much kiss the value of the card goodbye. So, I don't know if that's part of the art or not, or if it's just another... Yeah, I think it's a part of the card because I see the other stars. So that was a star. It's not a yellow dot misprint. So this, don't be surprised if I do a separate video lining that one out and just adding on top of part 4. I've got some other cards that I want to send in to CGC. This might go to Tag, and it might just go to Tag as an individual card. I do have some cards that I'm trying to figure out, but I do want to get these submissions going. Sometimes I make these videos all at once. So far for this video, I've actually made it over the course of 3 days. I just have a lot going on. So who knows what I'll do. Now, final card for part 2. This card, you guys will probably argue with me on. I'm going to see what I can get away with. And again, I haven't ever submitted to CGC before. But one of the things I like about CGC, is it still on here? It is. One of the things I like about CGC is they are a lot more accepting of errors and or possible errors, whatever you want to call it. Now, what I mean by that, so this is a Sensino, and it's in pretty good shape. Centering's definitely off, not crazy. Still have this in the PSA 9 category. Some whitening, but believe it or not, that doesn't move it too far off from the PSA 9 category. So I would guess PSA 9. But PSA has no label for this. Now, you're probably going, what's the error? Now, here's where I will zoom in for you. And I verified this against another Sensino card, and I should have found one to use as an example. And I'm trying to get it to where it's not so blurry. But there is a red dot on that hat. And that red dot is, again, a part of the manufacturing process, as the light completely blocks it out on screen. Maybe if I... Oh, there we go. Way clearer video. So that black dot is not on other Cincino cards, and it is a part of the manufacturer. So this is a red dot error Cincino card, but there is no PSA label on it. So, or for it, I mean. So I would guess 8 to 9 PSA. Really more so 9. Floating 10, not 100% on that one. But 8 to 9, there's some smudge. But this one I really don't have a choice. There's no PSA label for this. And I have to see how CGC does it. I know they do some things to where you can just have like error put in the top of the label. I of course want it to describe the error if possible. And if Tag will let me do something like that, then I would honestly very strongly consider saying this to Tag. But yeah, that is the completion of our part 2, possibly some edits to this where at least probably the Charmander will come out. Cincino will probably stay. All depends on what Tag will allow. And look out for part 3 coming your way soon.